Alrighty then, we're at the ending of 2023. And the best way to wrap it up is to do something I don't do a lot, but it is a special occasion, so why not? Today we're going to do another versus battle. And by the title, you know who this is about. Similar to my Mori Warriors vs. Light Yagami video from last year, let's talk about a Kira switch. And let's do L versus Kira. Kira from JoJo and L from Death Note. And we're going to talk about if L can solve Yoshikage Kira as the serial killer of Morio. So, with that all out of the way, let's start with the scaling, and then we'll talk about who would win this overall fight. As this is my final video of the year, and I'm going to try to make a big one for this year. And I will look forward to 2024, but at the moment, let's talk about 2023, and we'll talk about this versus final. The final video of 2023. But first, before we do it, let's talk about the power scaling to it before we do the fight. And I will start off by scaling the Psycho Killer with a Hand Fetish, Yoshikage Kira. Now, Kira has a lot of scaling to do because he has a lot of stand abilities. In fact, he has 2 stands. Oh boy. That's going to be fun to talk about. But let's talk about the first one in his main stand, Killer Queen. Now, this is Killer Queen. It is a humanoid stand with a range of 2 meters. It takes the form of a cat. As for its stats, here are the stats. Its strength is probably its best quality with a strength of A. His speed is a B, which is not perfect, but it's really good. His range is D, because like I said earlier, he only has a range of 2 meters. His durability and precision are both B, with a potential of A. And that's some decent stats for the most part. Now, as for Killer Queen's ability, its power is to point something with its finger. The tip of his finger, whatever it touches, it turns into a bomb. And once he does a little hand gesture, you explode. It's easily one of the most broken stand abilities when you really think about it, as just one touch and you're already dead. And to be honest, Killer Queen is overall a strong stand, but there is a clear weakness to Killer Queen in that it's not a stand that's really good for one-on-one combat. Like, for example, his fight with Jotaro. He literally gets destroyed by an already injured Jotaro. This is a Jotaro that is weak, he's physically not at his best condition, and he's seen better days when you really think about it. And he mops the floor with Kira. So, if we're really being honest, Kira is not that strong and is only really good against fighters who aren't that strong when it comes to their stands. But, however, Kira has another ability, which does actually help when it comes to range, and that is Sheer Heart Attack. As for Sheer Heart Attack stats, here are the stats. Its strength is an A, which is pretty good. It's got a speed of C. Its range and durability are A. Precision is E, and then its developmental potential is A. So, for the most part, the stats are really good with mostly A's. Now, as for Sheer Heart Attack and how it works, Heart Attack takes the form of a little tank bomb that comes from out of Killer Queen's little hand. And this thing basically is a tank and will explode anything it comes to, while also being able to tank any hit. Like, I kid you not, this thing took a Star Platinum beatdown. And you know Star Platinum is like one of the strongest stands, if not the strongest. And not only that, but was also able to take a beating in Time Stop as well. So Sheer Attack is definitely a powerhouse when it comes to tanking hits. But Sheer Heart Attack does have a clear weakness, in that it's easy to fool when it comes to heat. It normally goes for the hottest object. Normally it's something that's extremely hot, whether it be body temperature or something else. So the best case scenario is to, if you're fighting Sheer Heart Attack, bring out some fire and run away. That's like your best bet to fight this kind of stand. And we are not talking about the granddaddy of them all. Probably Kira's best stand. ability, this isn't not a stand, this is an actual ability given to Killer Queen, Bites the Dust. Now, Bite the Dust is an ability given to Killer Queen after being stabbed by the arrow. As for how it works, Kira puts it on a human who has no stand. It only works on unstand users. He can put them on. And once somebody ends up finding out the identity of Kira, Killer Queen enters in their eye and explodes them from the inside out. Yeah, that is a very powerful ability. And the thing that makes it even more strong is the fact that it basically has the power to rewind time. So in other words, Kira can go back in time if he wanted to. But this could technically be a flaw in itself if you're dealing with multiple people. But in a 1v1 case scenario like against L, Bite the Dust rewind ability could actually come in very handy in this kind of situation. And not only that, but for fun, we also have Kira's other stand, even though this really isn't his stand, he just took control of it, and that's Stray Cat. Stray Cat is a cat plant thing. It's a cat that died and turned into a plant. Don't question me, it's JoJo. Just question JoJo logic. And its power is to shoot out bubbles. Now, its ability, Kira was able to tie in with Killer Queen pretty easily by making a long-range attack. So in other words, he made invisible air missiles, which is very powerful when you really think about it. And the only reason that the Stray Cat Killer Queen combo lost at the end was because Okuyasu's the hand just swiped Stray Cat out of Kira's body. And had it not been for Okuyasu, chances are Kira would have just lived his peaceful life a lot longer than he originally did. But overall, that is the scaling of Yoshikage Kira. Overall, he's not really that strong when you really think about it, but however, his abilities are just very powerful when you think about it. Kira has a very great abilities, but when it comes to fighting-wise, it's best Kira just doesn't get into physical altercation, because chances are he's gonna get destroyed pretty easily. He's more or less a glass cannon when you really think about it. But his abilities do actually counter it out and make him a more balanced fighter. Now, let's scale the world's greatest detective, L. Lawlite, or Lolly, or whatever you want to call him. This is L. He is one of the main characters of Death Note, and is considered by a lot of people in the Death Note universe as the world's greatest detective. Which is a pretty big skill to live up to, I'm not gonna lie. As for L's stats, which yes, Death Note characters do actually have stats, it is in a manga data book, I am not making this crap up. Here are his stats. I'm not gonna read them over, but you could tell his intelligence is perfect, to be honest. And you wanna know how smart he was? When he was still a kid, he stopped World War III. Yep. There was going to be a third World War in the Death Note verse that L stopped when he was a kid. I even have it highlighted. You can read it if you want. Pause the video and read it. That is all the proof you need to show that L prevented a war from happening. A big one at that, when you also think about it. And not only that, but he also scales to around Light Yagami in intelligence. And if you don't know, if you've not seen my Moria Warriors vs. Light Yagami video, you can know that Light Yagami is pretty much a freaking genius. And in that video, I did state that L was smarter than Light, in my opinion. Because Light has an IQ of 210, and L has an IQ of 240. Well, at least last time I checked, that was. And not only that, but L also has feats of outsmarting Light. So, yeah, and not only that, but L knows also how to throw fist and get into fist fights, as it is confirmed that he is able to actually do martial arts at one point, and not only that, but he was able to put up a decent fight with Light, and is very athletic, because Light Yagami, someone who is considered the greatest tennis player at a school, L was able to go against and actually come very close to actually beating Light in tennis. So, L is when you really look at him, he looks like a very scrawny dude, but despite that, he's very athletic, And I do believe that background could technically be helpful in trying to look out for Kira. And plus, like stated in my Death Note, like my previous Death Note vs. JoJo crossover What If battle, I do believe that Light Yagami is smarter than Kira in my honest opinion. But that is just my opinion. If you have an argument to that, tell me in the comments, and I will try to debunk that, or I'll try to see where you're coming from. But however, it is time to actually do the fight. L versus Kira. Who wins? And can L catch Kira, or does Kira get away and get to live out his peaceful life for another while? Alright, so it's time to start the fight, but there's a problem. This is a pretty big problem. So, L does not have a stand, but Yoshikage Kira has a stand. Now, I know you guys are going to be like, oh, it's no big deal. Who cares? That's obvious. While true, it's obvious. There's a major problem to this. Only stand users can see other stands. So, in other words, since L does not have a stand, this does not mean L could see Killer Queen or any of the other abilities, with the exception of Stray Cat, since Hayato was able to see it pretty easily. But here's the thing. Maybe this is a timeline where L finds the Stray Cat bubble, or maybe he just finds a stand or something. Like he finds the arrow, he gets stabbed with it maybe. Maybe he has some help with other stand users like the Morio Warriors, or maybe some random stand user helps him or something. I don't know. Maybe L has that luxury of getting a stand user on his side or having a stand of his own to somehow compete with them. But however, when we're really talking about it, we're gonna go with more or less L with prep time, or like a prep time type thing. Like he knows he's got to look for a killer in Morio, and he knows that they have a supernatural power, and we'll give him that much information. We'll make it more fair on him on that behalf. So he more or less thinks of it as a disappearance, but he assumes it's a murder, and that the person is somehow hiding their body from some kind of paranormal activity with it. We'll go with that route to make it more interesting and more fair for L. So, if we're going this route and that L does do that, what is going to happen? Well, in my honest opinion, I think that L would just send out a bunch of women in their 20s and 30s and probably just look for Kira. I mean, to be honest, it would probably be pretty easy to do that. He did the same thing with Light. He could monitor a bunch of suspects on who could have been caused of the missing women. He could send out women of his own that he could pay off, and he could just stalk many of the suspects, Kira maybe being one of those suspects, and Kira would eventually find one of these women, and he would probably just kill them. Now, this plan could actually work if this is like blonde Yoshikage Kira, like, if this is Yoshikage Kira either before the events of Diamond is Unbreakable, or maybe this is before, maybe like L's working with the Morio cast and L's doing his own thing, all the others are just relaxing, or maybe L is doing it, like maybe they don't meet Remy instead, or maybe something like that, and L's the one only doing it, then I believe that realistically speaking, this plan could work on Kira. But if we're going with Kosaku Kawajiri, like maybe this is a timeline where Kira actually won at the end, or maybe the Mori Warriors just, for some real weird reason, just give up on Kira, or maybe they just never find him, or maybe they just ask for L's help. I don't know. But assuming this is Kosaku, this plan is probably not going to work on Kosaku. I mean, when you really think about it, he had Shinobu in his life, and he also had Hayato, and he was basically camouflaged very well with the Kawajiri family. So in my honest opinion, I actually doubt Kira would actually go after his old killing ways. I mean, true, he probably may do it occasionally and behind their back, similar to how he kind of went back to that routine the day before the final fight, but I doubt he'd be doing it religiously, since now he's got Shinobu and Hayato, and he's probably gonna hide his killing ways. In my honest opinion, that's probably the idea that I would have gotten out of Kira. And plus, if Kira does pay attention and notice that there's some guy stalking him, looking for information on about all the women disappearances and the death of Remy and Shingeki and all that, chances are he can just put Bite the Dust on either Shinobu or Hayato, get them to interact with L, and Bite the Dust will affect, explosion, L is dead. It's probably what would happen. And even if we're going with regular blonde Kira, Kira can just lead L into his family's house, and maybe L can get killed by Kira's dad, or maybe he gets killed by sheer heart attack, or maybe Killer Queen turns a doorknob into a bomb, like he did with Shingeki. Realistically speaking, I feel like if Kira can get onto it, then L isn't making out of this alive. But if L can do it very, very quietly, if he doesn't make this public, like he did with the Light Yagami thing, I believe that L would have actually did it. I think he could do it if he's making it a private investigation. If this is a public investigation, L is probably going to die at Akira. So, my overall conclusion? If L makes this a private investigation, I believe he could actually catch Kira. If Kira doesn't catch on in anything, if he doesn't realize he's getting stalked or any of that kind of stuff is happening, Kira is going to get captured pretty easily. But if L does make this public, like he did with Light Yagami, and if L basically is more out there for it, I believe Kira will find a way to get him. And I believe it would be an easier win for Kosaku. In my opinion, in most case scenarios, I believe Kira has a higher chance of winning. But it would only just be by a little. And I'm not going to say that Kira is smarter than L by any means. No, I don't think he is. I just think that Kira's stand is just too strong for someone like L to handle. Even with help, I really don't see how any of those stands could work. And plus, Bite the Dust can actually work on multiple people and not just one. So that's kind of a big thing that L would probably be hard to deal with. It's just the bombs. Because one touch from Killer Queen, or one step near sheer heart attack, or one wrong move with Bite the Dust, and he's a goner. But that's really it. Did you enjoy this video? Did you enjoy my final video of 2023? Well, it's a new year coming up. Well, Happy New Year's, and I'll see you all next time.